Warning, this video is intended for a mature audience. You understand? Viewer discretion is advised. Yay! Alright, this is Billy Bob Tanley here, people, and this is a request from Cyborg Parent, and it was uploaded by SunnyV2, and the name of this video is How Steven Seagal Became Hollywood's Worst Celebrity. Okay, let's check it out. Yay.
He killed a family's 1-year-old puppy dog and stole money from a kid in a wheelchair. Steven Seagal has such a comically terrible history, he now simply refuses to face it.
I wonder how you deal with all that.
What the fuck?
Steven Seagal?
Number 1, treating other actors terribly during filming. I have a family member that worked with him years ago on a low-budget film. Steven Seagal was miserable and rude, but it only gets worse from here.
He's just
whilst filming for the movie Exit Wounds, stuntman Steven Quadros explained that Seagal would unexpectedly kick guys in the nuts to see if they were wearing cups, which was also mentioned by a different stuntman in a completely unrelated interview.
What he's gonna do is kick you in the nuts. He's like, oh, hey, we're wearing a cup? Well, he's just gonna
any of you kind of kick him
One
back?
comment stated, I actually know a few stuntmen and actors who've worked with Seagal, and they all echo the same thing about him, one of whom might have been Stephen Lambert, who stated Seagal became more unpredictable during his fight scenes.
He's notorious.
He is one of the worst actors in Hollywood.
As he'd actually punch and hit other actors to make the fights look real.
He was actually hitting the stuntmen like
for real? Yeah, he's known for that.
To make matters worse, protective equipment wasn't allowed on set.
There's nothing wrong with putting on pads. They would say no because he wouldn't allow it.
And it's therefore no surprise that during one scene, Seagal injured DMX's shoulder during the fight, so X had to take a few days off. Even worse was when Seagal put a stuntman in hospital
and he beat the shit out of the guy and smashed his face to the mirror multiple times. He went over the top to the point that sent the guy to the hospital.
Which isn't surprising given he was
somebody should have put him in a hospital
filming
instead.
a YouTube video.
He's nothing but a big bloated piece of shit anyway.
I wasn't ready.
As a
result,
just laughing
off, so I guess it wasn't that big of a deal then.
Just to appear alongside him.
You got to keep a third eye on what he's doing. And if you're not good enough, he's going to hurt you.
Although not only
because he's so epic in his movies, he's great.
Seagal would show up on set demanding insane movie changes.
Calls the director, he's like, we're changing the scene. We're gonna do the scene in Arabic. He's gonna teach me. And he's like, put this camera here, put this camera here. I was like, everybody's like, what?
While Stephen Tobolowsky told a funny story
how was he allowed to get away with
randomly stopped acting on set due to an unexpected crisis.
Steven Seagal has had a spiritual awakening. He decided that he doesn't want to kill people anymore in movies. And Steven says, I think it's just bad that we keep putting this violence into the world.
That sounds
this resulted
stupid.
in a $14 million lawsuit claiming that Seagal not only regularly showed up late and left early, but also made regular unauthorized changes to the script and dialogue, which could result in the loss of millions of dollars because parts of the film's plot that were promised now cannot be delivered to the film.
No wonder that YouTuber makes so many goofy videos making fun of him.
His actions on
Keep making more,
sets, justifying his lack of effort with the worst excuse you'll ever hear. Seagal backed out because his Buddhist guru known as Mukara said the films would create bad karma. Because Seagal's also been exposed to exaggerating his skills
leave
as a
Hollywood
fighter.
forever.
Steven
That's
Seagal
what you
is
truly
in fact
believe.
a black belt martial artist. However, his martial art of choice, Aikido, has been heavily criticized for being one of those mostly impractical martial arts that has extremely limited application in real life scenarios.
He is a legitimate
somebody sitting here reacting, that might be a curse. I might bring in a demon through the wall or some shit.
A Reddit comment describes Seagal's martial art to be kind of a cult with fake telegraphed attacks. The attackers are just there to make the master look good, which is exactly what's shown in this video, where Seagal's attackers just fall to the floor to make him look good.
He puts no effort. If he's doing all this martial arts, how come he can't get in shape for his movies?
Real world. This makes pro wrestling look real, wonderfully choreographed. Fighting is always easier when your opponent cooperates. It's therefore no surprise Seagal has no professional fighting record.
Is everybody scared of him?
Coming in the cage isn't a world champion with a background in Aikido. You never heard that once. Have you ever heard that once? It's for a reason.
But he did claim that he'd taught Anderson Silva how to do a highly specialized move, the leg kick.
I started teaching him kicks that I thought he could really hurt people with.
So you're those stupid eyes.
At that point, I knew he was going to start to really make these kicks, you know.
He created the front kick. Did he invent the wheel too? In
I'm
response,
sure he
Anderson
didn't.
Silva made a video mocking Steven Seagal's fighting, although there was one more attempt by Seagal to prove he could actually fight. Whilst on set for the movie Out for Justice, Seagal claimed that due to his Aikido training, he couldn't possibly be choked unconscious. The challenge was taken up by martial artist Gene LaBelle, who not only choked Seagal out instantly, but also caused Seagal to soil himself in the moments he was blacking out. When asked about the incident, LaBelle stated, sometimes Steven has a tendency to cheese off the wrong people, and you can get hurt by doing that. So if a guy soils himself, you can't criticize him, because if they just had a nice big dinner an hour before, you might have a tendency to do that.
Well, don't be
Seagal responded by claiming that he and LaBelle had never even fought.
There was never ever any confrontation with him ever. And if Gene is saying shit like that, he should be ashamed of himself. And so he said that he's a pathological scumbag liar.
Although nobody believes Seagal's side of the story, as he has his own list of well-documented
Hollywood's
lies.
biggest liar,
For example,
Seagal.
Seagal made the insane claim that he was honored as the first private citizen to destroy a nuclear device, whilst also claiming he was recruited by the CIA to help carry out undercover missions. It explained, you could say that I became an advisor to several CIA agents in the field, and through my friends in the CIA,
has a big
met many
ego.
powerful people and did special work and special favors, although an investigation by a magazine found these claims were completely bogus. It also dispelled the myth that Seagal once fought the Yakuza in his dojo, as the magazine interviewed Seagal's ex-wife who stated it's a lie. He once chased a few drunks away from the dojo, but never was involved with the Yakuza.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Similarly, Seagal made the claim that he was a tough kid who was feared by others, yet this was dispelled by his own mother, who stated her son was frail and suffered from asthma. He was a puny kid back then, although Seagal had a plan to clarify exactly what was fact and fiction. He'd post a Reddit Ask Me Anything, likely expecting normal questions. However, the responses would only deepen the past that was already haunting him.
Sounds like
what
a terrible
kind of
human
pants were you
being to
wearing
me.
when Gene LaBelle choked you unconscious and caused you to shit your pants? I personally know a stuntman who had all of his front teeth knocked out by you and said you didn't even apologize. Why did you do that? Can you explain how you developed the front kick that Anderson Silva used in his UFC fight? Although there was one more question that was worse than any other. Hey there, I went to the same junior high school as you in Fullerton, CA many years later. Heard some stories. The one I would like to ask you about is when your social studies teacher caught you stealing lunch money from a kid in a wheelchair. True, I didn't make this up. Seagal understandably avoided the damning questions. However, by answering some of the easy ones,
a legend in his own mind.
Flaw. His
That sounds about
ego.
right.
What is your current biggest drive that motivates you? I am a champion and I want to remain a champion. Seagal's overinflated self-image was best shown in this interview, where he'd implied that Van Damme wasn't a good martial artist.
I think that that's a matter of opinion, that he was
just his voice irritates the shit out of me.
Which was then proven at a party when the two came head-to-head. The party was hosted by Sylvester Stallone, who stated, Van Damme was tired of Seagal saying he could kick his ass and went right up to him and offered him the chance to step outside so he could wipe the floor with him. Seagal made some excuse and left. Van Damme, who was completely berserk, tracked him down and again offered him a fight. And again Seagal pulled a Houdini, yet Seagal unsurprisingly stated it was Van Damme who ran from him.
Isn't that when he got in a fight with you?
Seagal ran.
Like me squashing an ant. If he sees me, he runs.
It's therefore no surprise that Seagal despises Van Damme.
Thoughts on Jean-Claude Van Damme?
What did Van Damme?
Can I laugh in your face? Do I think Jean-Claude's a tough guy in martial arts? No.
However, Van Damme has only ever said positive things about Seagal in return.
Met the guy a few times. He's a nice guy. Doesn't like me much. I like him a lot.
Yeah, well, you know who the villain is there.
Special on the screen.
Another example of Steven Seagal's ego came from a story told by Rob Schneider.
Finally, Steven Seagal emerges, and he comes out and he said, I just read the greatest script I've ever read in my life. He goes, really? Who wrote it?
Hollywood's filled with a lot of scumbags.
Which only becomes funnier once you realize that said best script ever was for his terrible performance on Saturday Night Live.
Listen to me carefully. I don't want you to talk about anything to me anymore. I don't want you to say my name anymore.
With atrocious lines such as that one, it's no surprise a long-term SNL employee called Seagal
worst host by lap every bad host.
However, Seagal's hosting of another show somehow ended even worse. In 2009, Seagal told the LA Times he'd apparently been a policeman for more than 20 years, proving this by showing a black and white photo of him raising his right hand in what looks like a swearing-in ceremony, creating the impression it was taken when he first joined the department. At closer inspection, however, it appears the photo was taken 20 years and at least 20 pounds after the fact, casting doubt on whether Seagal had ever been part of the force. Regardless, this led Seagal to create a show called Lawman, where he and his crew went around apprehending criminals, often done with excessive force to make for enjoyable viewing. Well, in one episode, Seagal attempts to break up an illegal cockfighting operation by raiding a house with a tank with the goal of freeing the animals.
Animal cruelty is
the hell?
Pet peeves.
However, after doing so, the property's owner Jesus Sanchez Uvera quickly filed a $100,000 lawsuit which claims that more than 100 prize chickens being bred for show were killed by Seagal and his colleagues. An 11-month-old puppy was also shot and killed during the early morning raid. Seagal responded by stating, "I've been called a lot of things in my career, some of them not so kind. But to be labeled an animal abuser is beyond the pale, and that is simply a role I will not accept." While another policeman stated if my deputies, or Posse and Seagal for that matter, had done something so awful like shooting a family dog, then where are the photos to prove it? It seemed for the first time ever Seagal wasn't actually lying. However, there was one more lawsuit that would end the show completely. In mid-2010, Steven Seagal was sued for sex trafficking, which became one of so many different allegations, it's genuinely difficult to count them all.
He is a
On the
piece
set of
of
1991
fucking
Out for Justice, 4 different
But
women
he's
quit
allowed to
during
get away
filming
with it,
due to
right?
Seagal's continued piggery, while one of the stuntmen from
He is a
earlier
fucking
told
pig.
an equally creepy story.
There's this girl sitting in a
I'm tired of
tub. She's wearing
sugarcoating this
bikini,
shit. Fuck
and they had to
Steven
convince her
Seagal.
that she has to come out
What
of the
a real
tub
piece of
naked.
shit,
The only thing that might
motherfucker.
rival his terrible track record with women is his
Yeah,
track
he
record
thinks,
with
he's a
low-rated
ladies' man, too.
movies, none of which receiving more than 50% on Rotten
Real women
Tomatoes,
don't want
or
to do
more
with
than
that
5 out of
motherfucker.
10 on IMDb. And with no new movies in the last 5
Sure.
years, Seagal has opted for a modern method of generating
This video
extra
got
income,
more fucked up
crypto
later on.
scams.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Steven Seagal scammed people with crypto.
From Team Seagal, Steven has just become
I
the
don't know
worldwide
much about
ambassador
crypto. I
for
never
the
dealt
Bitcoin
with
second
crypto
generation
shit.
cryptocurrency. Despite gaining only 150 likes, Steven was promised 250,000 in cash and
Why does Hollywood
750,000
still
worth
want
of
him in
BTG
there?
tokens in exchange for his promotions, which he failed to disclose to the public, resulting in a $330,000 fine. Seagal paid only $75,000 toward his
narcissist piece
debt
of shit
before
from hell.
refusing to appear in court, then
Fuck
moving
him,
to
man.
Russia where he still lives now.
So there you go, everyone. If y'all want to watch the original video, the link is in the description. Go check it out and shit. And I'm getting the fuck out here, so yeah. My name is Billy Bob Tanley, and I approve this message.